It was the year Jamaica passed a law promising women equal pay for equal work. The same year the United States slashed its aid to the island to punish its government. That wasn't a coincidence. That was a warning. And it's why many Jamaicans still call 1975 Jamaica's darkest year. This is the story of a small Caribbean nation that dared to dream of a new society, built on justice and equality, only to find itself pulled into the unforgiving storm of Cold War politics. It's the story of reggae rising, Cuba calling, America pressuring, and Jamaicans struggling to hold on. And it's a story that still echoes today, Joshua's Mandate. In 1972, Michael Manley stormed to power on a wave of hope. With his rod of correction, gifted by Emperor Haile Selassie, and his promises of better must come, he became more than a politician. He became a symbol. By 1975, he had declared Jamaica a democratic socialist state, charting what he called a third way, rejecting America's capitalism. That vision turned into laws. In November 1975, Jamaica passed its first minimum wage order, protecting workers at the bottom of the ladder. And just weeks later, on December 1st, the Equal Pay Act made it illegal to pay women less than men for the same work. In a country still scarred by the plantation economy, these were revolutionary steps. But here's the paradox. Even as the poor gained protection, the wealthy panicked. Businesses feared nationalization. Investors rushed to move their money abroad. Jamaica's dollar began to collapse, and a nation already hit by global recession and falling bauxite prices was now bleeding foreign exchange. For the rich, Manley's laws were proof of danger. For the poor, they were hope. That clash of visions would rip the country apart, the soundtrack of a revolution. While Manley fought in Parliament, a new force rose in the streets and sound systems, reggae. And in 1975, it became a global weapon. That year, Bob Marley released an album recorded in London's Lyceum Ballroom. The album turned No Woman No Cry into an anthem, with crowds chanting along, lifting Jamaican struggle onto the world stage. The imperfections in the recording feedback, rushed tempo, made it real, raw, alive. In December, Winston Rodney, better known as Burning Spear, released Marcus Garvey. Songs like Slavery Days forced listeners to face history head-on. It wasn't entertainment, it was prophecy. Toots and the Maytals brought joy with funky Kingston, fusing reggae with Motown and soul. Reggae wasn't just art, it was a form of defiance. Every lyric about oppression, every chant of freedom made Washington nervous. Because what was Jamaica exporting? Not just music. It was exporting rebellion. The Cold War frontline. The US wasn't amused. In 1971, America had given Jamaica $23 million in aid. By 1975, that figure dropped to just $4 million. The message was clear: choose socialism, lose support. And then came the breaking point. In July 1975, Manley visited Cuba. He stood in Havana, praising Fidel Castro, calling capitalism a dead end, and signing agreements on agriculture and culture. To Washington, this was betrayal. To Manley, it was survival. But soon, whispers grew louder. The CIA was in Jamaica. The Daily Gleaner newspaper, critics said, was publishing stories like El Mercurio had in Chile before Allende fell. Manley himself told US officials he believed CIA people were destabilizing Jamaica. Even US Secretary of State Henry Kissinger hinted at aid, but only if Manley sided with the US in Angola. When Manley refused, the offer evaporated. By the end of 1975, Washington was already treating Jamaica like Chile, an experiment that had to be stopped before it spread. The Cold War had come to Kingston, the contradiction of champions. And yet, as politics burned, Jamaicans were conquering the world. In June 1975, the West Indies cricket team, with Jamaican star Maurice Foster, defeated Australia to win the first ever Cricket World Cup at Lord's. It was more than sport. It was the Caribbean beating its former colonial master on the grandest stage. At home, Kingston College footballers celebrated their 50th anniversary by winning the Triple Crown, Manning Cup, Walker Cup, and Olivier Shield. Local pride surged even as political violence brewed. Santos Football Club ruled the National League, life in the eye of the storm. Beyond politics and sport, daily life carried on. At 56 Hope Road, Bob Marley's yard was alive with football matches, domino games, and music. In March 1975, the Jackson 5, global pop royalty, visited Marley there. The world was coming to Kingston's doorstep, but communities felt change. Neighbors once watched each other's children, shared food, and lived in safety. By 1975, that safety frayed. Political gangs carved up neighborhoods. Children still played, but gunmen lurked closer. While superpowers fought over Jamaica's future, he built his own, in faith and community. It's a reminder, history isn't just about leaders, it's about lives lived quietly in the storm. The legacy of 1975. So what really happened in 1975? Jamaica dreamed of fairness, but collided with fear. It raised its voice through reggae, but was heard as defiance. It sought friendship with Cuba, but earned hostility from America. It won cricket matches, tied sprinting records, and made the world dance, but paid the price in economic chaos. Bonus facts. Fact 1. Bob Marley's 1975 album cover photo, him mid-leap with dreadlocks flying, became one of the most iconic music images of the century. Fact 2. The Equal Pay Act of 1975 was groundbreaking, but today, Jamaican women still earn far less than men. Fact 3. Before the crisis, the Jamaican dollar was actually stronger than the US dollar, an unthinkable reality now. Fact 4. Declassified US memos later showed officials openly considering ways to block Manley's Cuba alliance. History never really ends. It echoes, and 1975 still echoes in every Jamaican debate about fairness, sovereignty, and identity. Subscribe to this channel, Impacting Jamaica, for more truths about Jamaica, the Caribbean, and its diaspora.